Okay.
Recording in progress.
All right, let's go. Bob, BJ, and Prater to start off.
Coach, congratulations on the win. Why don't you talk a little about what you thought your line was able to do and on both sides of the ball, and how you can maybe not so much in this game, but carry it forward to games in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really starts with having a clear understanding of what we were doing so that they could communicate in really a loud environment. They took great pride in being on the same page and coming off the ball. And again, being able to find things that our coaches have done a great job of finding things that fit us and what they can do well. And obviously what works and from a backfield standpoint for our running backs and putting it together. And I can't say enough about how hard the O-line has obviously been working and what that meant to be able to run the ball the way we did through the course of the game and in some critical situations, and to earn a first down at the end of the game there to seal the game with some downhill, power run game. So we obviously have got to build. We're not where we want to be still. The guys are excited to continue to build off of what we were able to do well and fix the things that we still did not do well. From the standpoint of the defensive line, we played with a better mentality at the line of scrimmage and did a much better job keeping our hips square and handling the lateral outside zone that we were seeing. We will obviously have a tremendous challenge this week and see about every run scheme there is known to man. So we've got to obviously continue to build, and it starts with our preparation, having a great understanding, building the confidence and the mentality at the line of scrimmage to be able to handle all the different things we're going to get.
Specifically looking at the defensive line and the guys that are going to be in the box this week, what are the biggest differences going from what you saw against BYU versus what you're going to see against Air Force?
Well, I mean, there's BYU is an outside zone team that has trademarked how fast, they stretch the front and get going there. Air Force, yes, they're a triple option team, but they will run zone as well. They've even brought back old school trap that they run really well. They'll run the outside schemes aside from the perimeter triple option plays like the toss plays. And really what comes off of that too is having the discipline within the eye control to fit the run game, but also fit the pass game. Last week against Wyoming, they hit some explosive pass plays in some critical situations.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Andy, we've seen some changes to the depth chart today. Is there anything you can update us on some of the healthier team? And even going back a couple of weeks ago, I don't think we ever asked you about Kayla putting on social media that he was maybe medically retiring. Can you just kind of update us on the health of the team?
Yeah. So, Isa had continuing issues with the shoulder that he had to get fixed. And unfortunately it was time for him. He's not able to play anymore, given the condition of his shoulder. He battled and tried to rehab and get it. But it wouldn't sustain. So he had to get that fixed. Visser is also going to have to medically retire due to a continuing injury within his shoulder. And then Markel Reed sustained an injury during last week that is going to have him done for the season.
You mentioned a couple of times about the reestablishing the foundation, and you said a couple of weeks ago, what it means to be a Bronco. I mean, what was missing from your eyes, or why has that been such a big, talking point for you these last couple of weeks?
From how we prepare, how we get ourselves ready, the time we put in on our own to get ourselves ready for meetings, the way we get ourselves ready to practice, reestablishing the fact that we work here every single day. And that's the way it's been. That's the way this place was built. And the players recognize that too, that we weren't consistent and unbelievable. And we obviously, it was an unbelievable deal by them to be able to say that, there's things that we got to do a better job of, and it's all controllable. And obviously for us as coaches as well, and all of us coming together to do a much better job. Last week was by far our best week in terms of our preparation and having things ready for the guys and making sure it was clear, concise, and simple so that we can play with a certain mentality. And then the guys practicing with a certain urgency. It was different. And that's what we need to continue to build on. we've got to be able to earn the right to go out and play our best on game day. And last week we did that. And we've got to continue to build on that as we move forward.
Thanks, Andy.
Andy, you've talked about consistency Monday through Friday, and it seems like that's what makes a difference with this football team. It seemed like it worked against Utah State. It seemed like it worked last week. How much are you continuing to preach the consistency Monday through Friday, and how do you be more consistent at that?
Well, it starts with number one, making a decision that we're going to work every day, Mike, just like we talked about, where it's not just going to happen. We got to earn the right to be our best. And it starts every rep, every day at practice. And even before we go to practice, it's about, being present in meetings and winning the meetings and getting back to having a blueprint of a high football intelligence with work ethic that is second to none.
Khalil Shakir, I don't know if everybody else has kind of chimed in on his performance and what he means to this football team. The spectacular catches are nice. Maybe talk about that a little bit, but beyond that, just what does he mean to this football team based on his actions, based on everything he does?
He's one of the most humble team guys I've ever been around. And he's obviously, like you said, Mike, he's an unbelievable player. He's one of the guys that a few weeks ago stepped up and said, we got to change some stuff the way we're working. And he led the charge in the leadership group, and as well as, obviously with the coaches. He's done an unbelievable job, the way he practices, the way he works. And obviously, that's the way he plays. But aside from that, he's through and through for Boise State. He's the type of guy that, in the past and will go into the present that help make this place what it is.
Thank you, Andy.
Coach, what can you tell us about Alexander Tubner? Personally, when JL went out last week, I expected to see Shea Oladipo in there, but Tubner got in there and had a great game.
How come you expected to see that?
Pardon me?
How come you expected to see that?
Because he's been such a beast, and every other time he stepped on the field. And those safety positions are pretty similar, right? So I assume he can play both.
Yeah, we'll say they are, Ron. We'll get on the board when the season's over, and we'll see why he wasn't able to do it. They're different. They're different sides. But I can't again get into all that. But Shea has done an unbelievable job. Shea plays to the field. Alex Tubner has been, the second string guy at that position. Really, he earned the right all the way back to spring ball and has done an unbelievable job. He not only on defense, just on special teams, right? He hasn't played a ton of defense, but you see him jump in there, and what he does on special teams gives him the confidence to be able to go in there when that situation happened and JL came out, and for him to be able to go in there and play defense. And that's where he gained his confidence. He may have been a little bit nervous when JL got tossed by the look on his face in the huddle as we were in the TV timeout there. But, again, phenomenal job. Recovered a fumble after that, not only caused one on the kickoff, but recovered one after that. And that's who he is. We're very fortunate to have him a part of this team, and he stepped up huge the other day.
And after the game on Saturday, you called it your best rushing performance of the season. Looking back on the game, why did you guys have so much success there? And what can you tell us about Habibi Likio's health moving forward?
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how he responds this week. But from the standpoint of what the offensive line, the running backs, and the tight ends did, number one, it started with a clear and concise plan, and those guys being able to execute it, versus a tough front. A big front, and playing with a certain mentality and coming off the ball and taking great pride. This is what we've been working on behind the scenes, and not only on this side of the ball, but both sides of the ball. And we got to continue to build. Obviously, Ron, we're going to have they're one of the best. They are the best rush. Air Force is the best rush offense in the nation, and they do a really good job against the run as well. So we're going to have to continue to grow this week with that.
Thanks, Coach. And I'll definitely take you up on that blackboard talk after the season.
Let's do it.
I'm maybe the worst person to threaten that with. That'd be like Christmas Day for me.
All right, let's do it, man.
Thanks, man.
Jay, you're up.
What up, Andy?
What's up, Jay?
Andy, after the game the other day, you said that you wanted the chance for your players to kind of like taste, what it's like to have such a big victory. When you go back and you look at it, though, I mean, like Alex Tubner, Noe Canijo, obviously Andrew Van Buren, Jackson Cravens, the entire offensive line, Caleb Biggers. It's like all these names that aren't necessarily like the household names really all like played like this little part or had a significant moment in the game. So for so many guys on the team to also be a part and, and get to taste that, like how much more impactful and meaningful will it be moving forward?
Well, we just wanted the guys to understand what it felt like to achieve something that they worked so hard for and that they deserved because of how they worked. And you named a few guys in there that at the start of the week, to be honest with you, they weren't playing much in the game. What is their role? They might be a backup on defense. They're playing on special teams, but that's the way this game goes. You never know. And you got to prepare every single week like you're the starter, whether you're the backup or you're the starter. And guys did that last week. And when their time came, they were ready to go and they stepped up for the team. And that's what we wanted everybody to understand and feel. Yes, it is a grind during the week. That's football. That's what everybody's doing. It's college football. The commitment that it takes to do the little extra on your own and getting back to those things. The guys did it last week, and we're going to do that this week again. And we're going to do a really good job preparing because we've got a huge challenge on our hands.
Andy, you got the chance to obviously leave the Mountain West for a couple of years. You didn't really have to deal with the triple option too much at Oregon. So how excited are you that a triple option team is back on your schedule again?
Well, in the Pac-12, the triple option showed up from Chip Kelly one afternoon in Eugene. So I didn't, because of the background we had in this conference, we were able to fend it off, but it is very challenging. And it starts even without the schemes. It starts with the discipline. It is all about the mentality and the eye control you play with, and every man doing his job. And this is a time and place where we need this the most to be able to grow at this and to be able to face this challenge. They are going to be an extremely physical team. It's going to be a downhill run game. It's going to be a lateral run game, and they're going to take shots. And they've proven to do it pretty well this year.
Thanks, Andy.
John Mallory.
Sorry, man, I didn't get the order on that, Craig. My bad. Hey, Coach, do you buy into, one win changing a season or a program? I mean, 20 years, Fresno, you were a part of that. Or is it more of just using a big-time win as like a platform to get other stuff going? What's your philosophy on a program-changing win?
We beat a pretty good team on the road this past week. This is a new week, and we got to grow forward off of what we did last week. We got to do it better this week than we did it last week. That's how I feel about it, and having the guys understand what it looks like to be able to be our best for 4 quarters. That's the importance of being able to go on the road, accomplish our goal, but more importantly, look and have some perspective of why we were able to do that. And we need to do that day in and day out. And that's how we're going to work going forward. And that's what the guys have committed themselves to.
Talk about the league as a whole. Seems like there might be more good teams in the Mountain West, maybe than in years past. What are you seeing, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Mountain West is up and down week in and week out. I mean, already this year, in the non-conference games, the Mountain West has, done damage to the Power Fives. And so that being said, it's an extremely competitive conference that starts with, the coaches and obviously the skill in the conference with the players. And every single week, you better be ready to roll. And that's the challenge in it. I think that, this is what we've been looking for. We have an unbelievable challenge here in this conference. And I think there's really, really good teams in this conference. And because of that, again, it requires you to be at your very best every single day.
Thanks, Coach.
Let's go Paul J. and then Will.
Coach, in watching the win over Wyoming by Air Force, they were kind of stagnant, went out to an early 14-0 lead, running the football. Then they couldn't run the football anymore. It was tight at halftime. They came out, quarterback started throwing the ball.
He threw the rock. Yeah, he came out chucking that thing, huh?
Yeah, and everybody's going, wait, what's going on here? How do you, I mean, when you're preparing for a triple option and you got this kid who's very accurate, that adds to your problems, right?
Yeah, there's no question. He did a really nice job, and he's obviously got some guys that he can throw to. Came out the first play of the second half, threw the ball. They got into second and long situations, had no problem throwing the ball. And I mean, there were guys that were pretty wide open in doing so, and he put it on them. So the O-line protected him as well. That's the other thing, Paul J., is that the O-line did a nice job of protecting the quarterback in those situations when they don't do a lot of, protection. So again, they may not throw the ball for a ton of yards within a game, but they've been able to do it when they've needed to, and especially to your point in the last game.
Everybody talks about the offense for Air Force. What kind of defense do they have? What kind of problems do they give you on that side?
Well, they've done a nice job of stopping the run this year. They got some D linemen up front that are big guys that are really good players. They're some of the better D linemen in the conference, on this D line that we're about to face. And so they are a physical defense that plays very, very hard. They will mix it up and play some. They played a fair amount of man this year, but we're expecting them to be able to mix that up and play some zones as well. And bring some of the pressures that they've traditionally brought. They've traditionally been a pretty aggressive defense.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Andy, what did you think of Jonah's performance Saturday and all season long for you guys?
Yeah, he did an unbelievable job on Saturday, and so did Connor Riddle, slapping that ball back on the ground for him on that snap that right before the half. Obviously we're not going to make excuses, but it was raining pretty good. That ball was pretty slick, as we all saw. Both teams were having a little bit of problems with that. And one got away a little bit, and Connor Riddle put that thing right back on the spot, and Jonah put it through, which was huge. But he did a really good job. And that starts too with the guys that are protecting up front and improving our field goal block protection or field goal protection.
What did you think of Kayla Bigger's performance on Saturday?
The last couple games he's done a good job. He has all the ability, and he's obviously getting comfortable within the defense in his time here. And so we're really excited about where he's going. He's gave tremendous effort on special teams. He's consistently one of the first guys flying down the field on the coverage teams. And so again, that's where guys that have played really good and gave great effort on special teams, it transitions over into whether it be offense or defense because of the experience they get if they weren't a full-time, a starter on either side of the ball.
Thanks, Andy.
Hey, Ron, we'll go to you for your follow-up.
So, Andy, a cool stat that came out of Saturday's game was each of Boise State's last 4 head coaches have beaten the top 10 team in their first season on the job. What does that say not only about your team to be able to win that game on Saturday, but about this program, since history seems to keep repeating itself?
Well, from the standpoint of us and in the present time, we learned a lot about ourselves last week, and not only last week, but what had happened, and our lessons learned from the previous games. And we learned a lot about what we're capable of when we do things a certain way. And so, again, that's the message, and that the team is, we've recommitted to ourselves to doing things a certain way. And if we can do those things day in and day out, then we're going to be able to be our best. And that was, a big win on the road, but it's a new week and we've moved on. We had a practice today where we corrected the things that we needed to from that game, but, especially defensively, there's some different things we're going to see this week. So we had to get moving on and get rolling on the triple option.
But what does that mean to you to join guys like Pete and Harsin and Hawkins to get a big win in your first season?
Well, to be honest with you, for me, it's more about the team, Ron. It's more about the guys and earning that through the week and going on the road and going in a packed house that was loud. in an environment of such, and being able to get that done. For me, it's more about the guys and seeing them accomplish something that they've earned. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's really about to me.
Thanks, Coach.
EJ, for your follow-up.
Hey, Coach, Kayla Canijo is going to set the program record with his 55th game played on Saturday. The COVID year helped a little bit there, but what does he mean to this program and for his brother also to come in and play the way he did the other day? And there was a cool picture of them with their arm around each other, during the game. Well, just to have him get the extra year with his brother and seeing those two guys together out there. What's that like for you?
Yeah, it was pretty special to see. When Nohe went in there and they lined up on both sides of the field, the first couple of plays, I mean, I'll be honest, I couldn't help but look over there too. For Jared and Misty, their parents, I can't imagine what that was like for them as well. It's pretty unique in the situation. He obviously stepped up, had a huge challenge on his hands with those outside wide receivers, but stepped up and battled and made some key plays in some critical situations. And Kayla, I mean, again, it would not surprise me if he was the president of the United States someday.
Thanks, Hank.
Jay.
I'd vote for him. Andy, after the BYU win, social media seemed like a pretty fun place to be for once for Bronco Nation. The evolution of just having a crew around you that documents all this. How much do you appreciate that? I mean, the moment in the locker room when everybody's jumping around you and pouring water, like everybody got a chance to see that. And when you were a player, that probably never would have existed, So how cool is it to be able to experience all that stuff? And then also, how well do you know Tyler McFarland? And if you do know him, how talented is he?
I'm sorry, you were cutting out there.
Sorry, keep it short. How cool is it to have a video crew around you that documents everything? And how talented is Tyler McFarland?
Yeah, we're grateful. It gives everybody an insight into the program. I'll be honest with you, Jay, I don't look at social media a whole lot. So what's put on there, but it's cool from the perspective of it gives Bronco Nation an insight, into things like that, certain things from practice, certain things from in and around the facility, obviously game day access, whether it be prior to the game, pre-game, in the game, after the game, the travel, all that stuff. So we're pretty lucky, and we got a talented production crew of young people that are really, really good at what they do and how they put it all together. Dom does an unbelievable job leading all those guys, and we're really, really grateful for how those guys work and the effort they put into it, because that's a lot of work. And you guys know that. I mean, that's, it's what you guys do. So we're extremely grateful for their commitment to putting all that stuff together for Bronco Nation.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Mike Prater, last question from you.
Andy, you were talking about how much and how hard the offensive line has been working. Monday through Friday, how do you teach getting more physical? How do you teach an offensive line to be more physical beyond just hard work? And more importantly, how do you sustain that?
Well, I don't think it's just on the field. I think it's how you're training too. I think it's how you take advantage of your opportunities in the weight room. And Coach Kagan and the strength staff, Mike, don't misjudge. We've turned it up, and for obvious reasons. And not only with our, the travel squad, but the developmental squad and the guys behind the scenes. And I think we're starting to see some gains there. And how we train them in the meeting room carries over to how they're going to play on the field. There's a certain mentality that's built even before you get on the field. And when you get on the field, it's about building the confidence through fundamentals and technique that are going to allow you to play physical. And then a whole group coming together and working together and having the consistency to work together and be on the same page is huge. When you got 5 guys working together to move a line of scrimmage, I mean, they've got to get used to playing with each other, and we got to keep growing that.
Thank you.
All right, Andy, appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
All right. Thank you, guys. See ya.
Thanks, Andy.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Hey, Tim, thanks for joining us. Let's go Ron, Jay, and BJ.
Hey, Tim, how's it going this morning?
What's up, Ron?
So I asked Andy the same question, but after the game on Saturday, he called it y'all's best rushing performance of the year. Looking back on film, what made it the best rushing performance of the year?
Well, I think it starts with just the mentality of the guys up front. And, I had 2 weeks with the same group together, which seems like it's been kind of rare this year. So maybe they're getting in a rhythm a little bit. And then also just kind of what the defense was doing. They were dropping 8 guys into coverage pretty much the whole game and trying to take Khalil and the guys out. So they were forcing us to run the ball, and our guys, knew that for us to be successful, we were going to have to create a running game. And I thought our physicality up front and the tailbacks hitting it and kept it consistent. So it was all the things we've been searching for. And by no means are we there or figured it out, but definitely was better.
A moment that I actually missed live in the game, but saw on replay, that there was a false start by Uzo Osuji early in the game, and John Ojukwu kind of got into him a little bit there. What does that say about John's growth as a leader and the ownership he's taking on this offensive line?
Well, communication was going to be a premium in this game, Ron. It was extremely loud. Obviously, it was raining there for most of the first half, and I thought that really John and Stets together demanded communication from the start of Monday last week until the game. And a lot of our issues in the run game, I really believed we were coming out of it the last few weeks. We ran the ball decent against Utah State. We ran the ball well against Nevada, but what got us was the snap issues, the communication up front. And so it was more about, hey, let's get that solved, and then we won't have these negative plays. And so I think John and Stets made sure that was taken care of during the game, and the communication was, for the most part, at a really high level. And in an environment like that was impressive. But he's been a good leader all year, Ron, and he holds guys accountable. He practices as hard as anybody. He demands a lot. And I know he was demanding a lot out of Uzo in that moment, which is good leadership.
And going back to the running game for a sec, obviously Kalani's banged up. Habibi Likio got banged up last week. I mean, do you expect to have either of those guys this week? And if not, how does that change your game plan?
I don't know about that yet. It's too early in the week. I'm hoping, Ron. I'm really hoping that we have those guys, obviously. But everyone's beat up. Everyone's young. Everyone's thin. You hear a lot of coaches talk. They do the same song and dance. We're not going to do that. We're going to play the guys that are ready to roll, feel good about the guys we have. And we'll see where we are at the end of the week. But I'm always hopeful we have, Cyrus and George ready to roll, because those guys are good players.
What do you lose when you don't have those guys?
I think just, we've talked about George's ability to just kind of make people miss at the line of scrimmage and he'll turn the 1 yard run into a 5 yard run that a lot of guys can't do. And then I thought Cyrus, on Saturday was running really aggressive. I mean, he was downhill, moving the pile, getting behind his pads. So he's got that ability to still make guys miss, but I think he gets a little downhill as good as anybody right now. And so I think without those guys, plus they both catch the ball really well to the backfield. So just different styles with all the running backs, just kind of fitting the things that fit those guys best and we'll just have to adjust based on who we have.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Ron.
Tim, what's going on?
What's up, Jay?
How are you?
Chilling, man.
If you go back and you look at Saturday's game, you guys get down 10-0. BYU plays that drop 8 coverage. How important was it to stay patient and not start throwing bombs down the field and just being patient with what you guys did and running the football and kind of taking what they gave you? How important was it to just be patient with that?
That was really the game plan going in, Jay, that BYU historically has done that a lot. Now, recently they hadn't done it a lot. They'd played a lot of man coverage, and we didn't know if they were going to do that. Obviously, you play man coverage against our receivers, you're rolling the dice a little bit. So I think they only played, less than 10 snaps a man the whole game, and the snaps they did play man were the snaps that you saw us throw the ball vertically. And the rest of the game was just, we're going to have to run the ball. We're going to have to be efficient and take the underneath passing game. And I was really proud of our guys for sticking to the plan, being disciplined. And everyone wants to put up and look at stats and how many yards or how many points, but man, if you win the game, you're a winning offense, right, Jay? So it's just putting together a good game plan that's best for the team, not necessarily best for putting up stats or putting up numbers. And I was really proud of our guys they understood to win that game, that was what we were going to have to do. And they stuck with it. And our defense did a great job forcing some turnovers. And we knew that was going to be a big part of the game too.
You kind of lead me to my next point. Like, it's funny, you look at the end of the day, 312 total yards, and it's like, nothing to call home about, but you guys had short field positions. You ran the ball effectively when you needed to. You also probably had a couple less possessions in the game just because of how well you guys ran the football too. So when you do win a game like that through physicality, as a guy that maybe some kind of assume is a spread guy that likes to throw the ball up tempo, like what goes through your mind when you can win a game this way?
I think it's just, as you grow as a coach, when I was a younger guy, it was like, man, I just want to score as many points as possible. And I don't really care what else is going on. And as you get older, you just realize you got to do what you got to do to win that game. Like, what do we need to do to win that game? And we didn't have a lot of possessions. In fact, there's been a couple of games this year we've had the least amount of possessions I'm used to. But I also think that you get in those kind of games and you got to realize the kind of game you're in. And that particular game, it was going to be us keeping our defense off the field with as banged up as they were, and trying to control the game a little bit. And knowing that they were going to drop 8 as much as they were, it was going to come down to just Hank being smart and delivering the ball and our tailbacks getting downhill and our guys being physical. And the bummer is, obviously we kicked 4 field goals, Jay. So if those 4 field goals are 4 touchdowns, that's 16 more points. Now it's 42 points. Now everyone thinks we're the greatest thing in the world, so it's just sometimes you look at the stats, it doesn't tell the whole story. But I think our guys did a great job of understanding what it was going to take for our team to win the game. And we played as a team, which was really cool.
This just might have been some moments that the broadcast caught throughout this game. But it just seems like you and Andy are working pretty well together. And like I said, it just might have been a couple moments the broadcast just happened to capture. But how has your guys' communication and relationship as head coach, offensive coordinator kind of evolved as we, are over halfway through the season now?
Well, I think, like we said when we first got here, I never really knew Andy, right? We just had the same mentors and the same thought process and the same beliefs. But being around him now for several months, there's not a person that I respect more in coaching. I tell him every day how much he inspires me to be a better coach, to be a better father, be a better man. He holds me accountable. He pushes me to be better, but does it in a respectful way. So he really creates a situation where you want to do really well for him. And so even when we won the game, I just told him I loved him. I was super happy for him because he is a tremendous coach. He's a tremendous leader. And sometimes the outcomes aren't what we all strive for. And people outside maybe this building don't understand how talented he is, how inspiring he is, and how much we all really love him. So for me, it's just I want to do well for him. And so I do think our relationship is growing that way and just getting to know each other and what works and what's best for this team this year for us to win games in this season. And we're starting to figure that out, I think, and hopefully we can keep that going.
One more quick one, Tim. Hank said that he's going to buy the offensive lineman steak dinners this week. Do you support that?
Man, I don't know if he's got that NIL money or what's going on, but sure, he better buy those guys something. They did a great job. The only sack we took was his fault, so he better buy him something.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
How's it going, Tim?
What's up, EJ?
Not much. I called it in my story that your most important, most impressive drive of the season, the one late in the game where they had just scored and cut it to 6 or whatever, and you guys, needed that drive to use some clock. You go down there, Khalil makes that catch, but you get that field goal to go up 9. How important, just given the whole talk about the second half narrative and all that, and just being aggressive there and putting that game away, how impressive was that for you?
Huge. I mean, I think if you cut out the 4-minute drive, I think we only had 4 drives in the second half, right? So I thought the drive to start the second half was really important, BJ, because we've had some struggles coming out of halftime, and that's been a focus of ours. Okay, so for us to have an 8-minute drive or whatever it was and basically run the rock was super important. And then, they cut the lead to 6, and, Andy and I just talked like, hey, probably got to throw the ball a little bit here. Let's be aggressive. Let's not, lean on one thing. Let's be us. And they played some man coverage that drive early. So I had a feeling they were going to keep playing man coverage and they were going to be aggressive. And So we caught him in some looks where we could take advantage of it. The third down where we hit the Shaq, and then we were just kind of waiting all day, like hoping they would play man, hoping they would play man. And we finally caught him. And I mean, what are you going to say about Shaq that can't be said? Big players make big plays. And that's where we're going to try to get the ball to him in the biggest spots. And what a tremendous play. That was a great drive and championship drive. Wish we could have got a touchdown though, BJ. Too many field goals, but we'll take it.
After I know we've talked about the O-line, but Hank mentioned like 4 times how happy he was for Coach Keene and for the O-line because of the criticism they had been taking. And, I think the criticism was justifiably so at times this year, but for them to, I know the O-line always, that's just how it is, but for them to have a game like that and put it together when at this point, I think a lot of people thought maybe it wasn't possible at this point in the season to turn things around up front. What was behind the turnaround, and what does it say about Coach Keene and that group that they were able to have a game like that?
Yeah, it has not been easy for those guys, and we tell them all the time, hopefully control what you're putting into your mind, right? I mean, control what you're taking in and make sure what you're taking in is positive stuff. Turn your Twitter off, or don't read some of the stories that are being written, no disrespect, but stay away from that stuff and just focus on the process of getting better. But I think for me, it's seeing the tears in OJ's eyes at the end of the game, understand how important it was for him to play a game like that. And I don't know if they're basing it on what's being said by the media or what's being said by the critics. I hope they're not, but sometimes it's hard to avoid that. Tim Keene's obviously been thrown through the ringer, and he's working his butt off to get this stuff fixed, and we're all working together to figure it out. But it's a collective effort, BJ. If we're not running the ball, it's everybody, and obviously the O-line is going to take the brunt of it. And if people want to sling arrows at Coach Keene, we're big boys, we can handle it. But if we're not running the ball, it's on the tight ends, the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wideouts. It's on all of us to figure that out. And like I said, the unfortunate thing was I thought we were on the right track at Utah State. We were running the ball really well at Nevada, and it really came down to our communication and the negative plays. And so we wanted to solve that. And we felt good about our ability to run the ball, even though no one else did. And I think it was just, again, I think it was emotional to see those guys at the end of the game feel like they got off to a good start. But again, by no means have we accomplished anything. We can still run the ball better. We can still play better offense. And so it's back to the drawing board and see if we can get a little better this week.
The Air Force defense, I know they had a lot of guys that didn't play last year and came back. And you look at a guy like Vince Sanford coming off the edge. What stands out to you about what Air Force is doing defensively?
Always extremely disciplined unit, right? And you wouldn't be surprised to say that word when you're talking about the Air Force Academy. But they're extremely disciplined in what they do. They got some really good players up front. Number 94 is a tremendous player, and really enjoy watching him on film. They've got some guys that have played a lot of football, so they're going to be very confident, as they should be. They believe in their system and what they do. It's going to be a tough effort for us to be able to move the ball consistently against those guys.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, BJ.
Read my stories anyway, so no one does. It's all good.
Let's go, John, Will, and Mike.
Coach, how proud of Hank Bachmeier are you right now, just to talk about that a little bit, what he's been through and how he's leading this team this season?
I mean, he checked 15 plays at the line of scrimmage during that game, right? 15 times during the game, he got into a different play, right? That's what professional quarterbacks do, and how hard is it when you have great receivers and they're not going to let you throw the ball to them? That's takes a lot of discipline. And I thought he played his best football game this year by far. And the numbers aren't going to state that, right? 170 yards or whatever, no touchdown passes. But that was true quarterback play. That was a high-level quarterback play. And still, Andy and I are going to be all over him for the 2 or 3 plays he made where he, goes John Wayne on us and gets crushed and gets the intentional grounding. We got to get rid of those handful of plays where he just goes John Wayne on us. But everything Hank does, he does out of just pure competitiveness. So it's trying to wrangle in those few plays. But that was high level quarterback play, John. High level quarterback play in that game. I was very proud of him.
And George Halani, I mean, just the kid doesn't seem like he can catch a break here. I'm sure he wants to be out there, obviously. Like, what's that like, having to see him? Because you guys are all people, man. seeing this guy day to day, practice in, practice out, and when he can't go, like how hard is that on George personally and the team?
Anytime you don't have a player at the ability of George Holani, your team is not as good. But the good thing is we still have George Holani around here, the person, right? He can still impact our team by who he is. First guy I saw this morning when I was in the training room early was George getting work. Gave him a big hug. His spirits are good. I'm sure there's some things going through his mind that are tough. You know, being a guy that got hurt a lot when I was a player, I know how that goes. But George is an impressive young man that goes beyond football. That's why he's on our leadership group. And we expect him back this year at some point. When he's back, we will be a better team for sure. But he's going to continue to lead off the field in the best way he can to help us.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, John.
Hey, Tim, for you personally, what was the most rewarding aspect of Saturday's win?
The hug I gave Andy as soon as the clock hit 0-0-0. And I told him, hey, you just beat the number 10 team in the country, and I love you, and I'm super happy for you. That was a great moment.
You mentioned the offensive line, the consistency of that group, having the same 5 starters. How much of a difference does that make week to week?
I thought that was the biggest difference this week, Will, was that we could finally say, hey, we think we found something with these 5 guys. And even though people were going to sling arrows after the Nevada game, a lot of that was not on them and how they played. It was operational things that we could fix that usually happens with a new O-line group. But we saw things in that game that showed physicality, showed high-level communication. We liked having Stets and OJ on the same side. And so all of a sudden it was like, hey, I think we found something here. And I don't know how many times I ran the ball left yesterday, but I know late in the game I was steering that thing over to John and Stets. And I think if I would have ran it the other way, they would have came and choke slammed me or something. So I think just finding the good combination there. Ben Dooley's doing really good at right guard. But again, that game last week, that was his first game at guard, right? So I think that first game, there was a couple of things we had to work through, but them having another week together to prepare, and we had to make that decision last week really late. Now we had the whole week for them to practice together. I do think that helped us well. And if we can keep those 5 guys together and start to get some guys back, maybe we can get some momentum going there.
One quick follow-up there. One thing I noticed on the field is a lot of times during timeouts, that 5 and Hank were huddled together and they're fired up. You could tell that they wanted to put it on their shoulders, that they wanted to run the rock. Do you notice that Saturday as well?
Yeah, I felt a vibe on the sideline, Will, from the whole team that was different. We had some meetings going up to the game where guys were talking about what they wanted as a team. And so, man, I felt the offense when the defense was on the field. I felt the offense right there. When JL got the targeting, you could see our whole team go grab him real quick. And then they went right to Tubes and got him fired up. When I was calling the plays on the last drive, I had Riley Wimpy was like my hype man right behind me. Like every call I made, he was like, yeah, that's a great call. So he's like right there hyping me up. So I just felt like there was just a good team vibe during the game. We were all connected, all 3 phases. And a lot of guys had to play in all the different forms. So I just felt a good vibe altogether. But I think that group of 5 was determined to run the football and determined to protect Hank. And they made that statement early in the week, and I thought they did a tremendous job of that.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Will.
Hey, Tim, Khalil Shakir. Every week he gets more catches, he gets more attention, he has more highlight plays. From your experience, how do you combat that moving forward? Because there's going to be more attention from the defenses on this guy. How creative do you have to get so that production keeps going for Khalil?
Yeah, that's going to be a focus all year, Mike, is just figuring out ways to get him involved. This game was going to be tough because if they're going to drop 8 guys in coverage and put 2 on him, there's not a lot of things you can do unless you can run the football and be efficient and force them out of that, which is when he started getting some catches later in the game. But I will say I've coached some talented wideouts, some guys that are getting paid to do it. And the one thing about him was even in the middle of that game, he overheard me saying something, I think, on the headset, like, hey, we got to find ways to get Shaq the ball. Let's find ways. And he overheard. He was the first guy to be like, Coach, keep running the ball. If it's working, do not worry about me. Let's win the game. And if you guys know wide receivers, that is a rare statement, right? I don't need the ball. And I thought that was telling of who he is as a person and a leader. And that's why he'll play football for a long time, because he understands the team aspect. But Mike, if we don't get him the ball, we're not going to be as good. We gotta find ways to get him touches. And that's going to be a focus going forward, obviously, as much as we can.
I know it's not the focus this week or even this regular season. We're going to do a segment later on our show this week about his NFL future. You just talked about you've worked with guys that are getting paid, and is he on that trajectory? Is this a no-brainer as long as he keeps going and doing the things that he's doing?
No brainer. People would be crazy not to put that guy on their team, not because of how good of a player he is, but what he would bring to your environment as a teammate, as a leader. I could talk for hours about how special he is in those categories, not to mention all he does every week is make catches that I don't think many people in the country can make. He can play inside, he can play outside, he can block, he can punt return, he can kick return, he can line up at running back. He can play wild. I mean, why would you not want that guy on your team? I would be shocked if he's not getting paid to do this for a long time. And it's because of the mindset he has and who he is as a person. That's why he'll last for a long time.
Tight end production, you're good for about 1 or 2 catches a day or a game from your tight ends. Is that by design? Are you trying to figure out ways to get them more involved? Are tight ends being asked to do different things? What's going on with that position?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Mike. It's definitely not the design. It's definitely not the design. We'd love to get those guys some more catches. And I thought this week was going to be the week because of all the drop 8 zones. We were seeing that they'd get some underneath things. And I know Ty Neal got one over the middle there, and then we hit Tyler on a long 3rd down. We missed Riley on a couple. I think we're just not in sync there yet, Mike. We're trying to get those guys the ball in those zone situations. So this should have been the game where they got more. And for whatever reason, we just couldn't get it connected. But we definitely want that number to go up. And that's something we've been looking at during every week is how can we get that number to go up, especially with a guy like Riley, trying to get him some more catches in space and get him going. And we've missed him a couple of times the last few weeks. We'll keep working on that and hopefully get him some more touches for sure.
Tim, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Bob Beeler?
Tim, when you set out to have a game plan, does it come the way you thought it would be, or in this week in particular, or did it evolve as the game went along? And I'm speaking of the amount of times you ran the football. Was that something you thought you would do before the game started, or is it something that kind of evolved with the success and you kept going?
You definitely have a game plan going in, Bob, that sometimes you go in and after the first drive, you just kind of tear it up and, throw it away. But this was one of those games where we knew going in, they were going to have to make a choice, just their style of defense. And we were ready for that choice. Like, what's it going to be? And we talked to our guys all week about, hey, let's prepare ourselves. It's going to be one of these 2 things. They're either going to play man coverage like they've been doing to Utah State and everybody else. And if they do, then okay, it's bombs over Baghdad. Let's roll, But if it's going to be drop 8 and they're going to test us, then we're going to have to roll our sleeves up and get after these guys and be physical. And quarterback's going to have to be really humble and get through his progressions and get the ball to the backs and get the ball underneath. And it was early on, you could tell it was like, okay, that's what they're going to do, especially when they got a quick lead. Hey, why not do that? Let's make these guys run the ball and let's see if the quarterback can be disciplined. And they tested us. And so they were ready for it. And then they executed the plan positively. Still some things we can get better at, Bob, but they executed that plan well.
A lot is made of Air Force's offense being so unique with the triple option. Is there anything their defense does that's unique?
I don't know if there's anything their defense does that's unique that we don't see, but I do think, like I was saying, they don't make mistakes. Like they don't drop guys in coverage. They don't miss tackles. They do all the things that good football teams do, right? They're gap sound. They tackle extremely well. They force turnovers if you're sloppy with the ball. They get pressure on the quarterback. They do all the things that a good football team does, which doesn't surprise you. I think their offense gets a lot of the headlines because, man, they run the snot out of the ball, and they're going to hold on to the ball for a long time and make it tough on a defense. But you can tell they have a team mentality, and it's obviously not surprising with the type of kids they get at their program. And so we know the test we have this week is a big one. We can't be resting on what happened, yesterday, we always say the easiest day is yesterday, Bob. There's a challenge today every day. We got to meet that challenge and find joy in that challenge. So the easiest stuff's behind us. We got to move forward.
Good luck this week.
Thanks, neighbor.
Tim, appreciate the time. We'll get you out of here. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks,
I love that Outcast reference. That was great.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
All right.
What's up, guys?
BJ, Ron, and Jay.
What's up, Spencer?
What's up, BJ?
Not much, man. Hey, we saw what Nohe Kaneo came in and did, and obviously got the pick. And his brother, Kayla, is going to set the record for games played here at Boise State, 55 on Saturday. And I know
that's awesome.
Pandemic, obviously, last year getting the season back, is part of that. But just for those two guys, and there was a picture of him with his arm around him. I don't know if you saw that, but just for those guys to be out there together on the field, and for Kayla to come back this year and have that year with him, what do you think this means to them? What's that like for you to see this?
Oh, I mean, it's why we do what we do, BJ. You know what I mean? You're 100% right. And I was talking to the defense earlier this morning. Obviously, we still got to clean up and grow in, but remembering that moment from the end of the game to the locker room to seeing, to your point, I remember exactly where Kanoe and Kayla were on the field, and they gave each other the hug at the end of the game. It almost brought tears in my eyes, because the work and the grind that it took to get to win that game, and what they did. And now it's obviously our push to do it again and do it better, because there's still a lot to clean up. But with the thing that I'm most proud about with Noe is this. I mean, 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if he knew how much he was going to play. You know what I mean? With Markel and Tyreek and Biggs and these, he just kind of looks at it, but he just kept working. He's a good athlete, does a lot on special teams. And now all of a sudden he gets in a game, plays well, gets an interception, you know what I mean? And especially a young man where, everybody knows his brother. His brother's done a lot of great things here at Boise State, and kind of always a little bit in that limelight, especially when you come to a place where your brother, to your point, BJ's played so many games. For him to be able to have that moment for the work he's put in was really special. And for them to be able to have that together, like you said, was awesome.
You think about who you didn't have in that game. You obviously mentioned you didn't have Markel or Tyreek, and then you lose Damon Cole early in the game. Then you have Skinner have the targeting call, in the second quarter. I mean, I don't know if enough was made, about the losses you had on defense there. And what does it say about some of those other guys like Tubner and some of those guys that had to come in that Noe to step up and obviously against a pretty good BYU offense?
Yeah, it was just big for us to see that those guys had been preparing themselves even when they weren't playing. We use the term here work while you're waiting, and so you can't, when your moment comes, you can't, all right, now I got to get ready. You never know when it's going to come, because if you would have told me 2 weeks ago that those guys would have been playing that game, you just don't know what's going to happen in football. You know what I'm saying? And seeing those guys prep and do a good job looking at the older guys in the room from all positions and seeing how they do it and growing and having their best week of prep, it showed on Saturday. Like I said, still so much to clean up and a lot that we need to, but I just think it's a big step for our guys, even guys that aren't playing right now, to be like, well, man, maybe I should be ready, because at this point, it seems like everybody's at any point someone could go in there, you know what I mean? And seeing those guys step up and get the job done, like I said, wasn't pretty, but get the job done with the guys that we lost either in the game or prior to, I am proud of them.
The fumble recoveries, and knocking the ball out as much as you guys did. I mean, I know, what was that good technique? Did the rain and the wet ball have something to do with it? I mean, how nice was it the interceptions are one thing, but to, get 3 fumble recoveries, I know one was on special teams, but I mean, that had to see.
No, it's huge. I mean, and creating takeaways is such a huge part of what defense needs to do. I mean, it's like we talk about pursuit, tackling, and takeaways is the lifeblood of defense and getting those, creating them. And a lot of it just is the habits that you create daily and watching them again. You see just guys punching at the ball and second man in the tackle. I mean, Tyreek Jones puts his shoulder right on the ball, and some of those are just playing hard. And it's cool to see that our guys are getting to the football. So then you pursue the football and then you're around the ball to scoop it up. So those habits go hand in hand, and creating those has been huge. And seeing it come up on special teams, because like Coach Avalos hits all the time, special teams is the culmination of the offense and defense together. That's really our personality as a team, is how we play on special teams, and seeing that go our way was awesome to see. But no, I mean, the takeaways were a huge part.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thanks, BJ.
Spencer, we saw Alexander Tubner come in the game on Saturday when JL went out. I believe he got in on 2 of the forced fumbles. I know he's a guy who's been around here for a while, but we don't really know much about him. What can you tell us about Alexander Tubner?
Alexander Tubner, better known as Tubes to the rest of the team. If you guys ask about Tubes, that's kind of his nickname on the team. Just an extremely hard worker. Gets great grades in the classroom because he competes in everything he does. He will always be that kid that is early and last to leave, diligent in regards to his preparation, works his tail off in the weight room to the training room. And he's just continually just done things to put himself in a situation where he's backing up JL Skinner. And then in a game like that, where JL gets out for targeting, he's ready to roll, and we don't bat an eye. Alex Tubner's going in, and he did a really good job. So he is that guy, Ron, that just is exactly what you would want from just a blue-collar young man. Works his tail off, preps, never any issues off the field, just handles his business, comes to work with a smile on his face. If it's from kickoff to playing defense, he'll be ready to go.
And we didn't see Shane Irwin on the field quite as much last week. I'm curious, was there an injury there that slowed him down, or was it just kind of a rotational issue?
Yeah, just still kind of getting healed up. It's one of those things that after missing the game and still kind of getting in the shape of the game, but just healing up. No, and he's doing a lot better. But just being smart with him to make sure that we have him on a rep count and make sure we don't overplay him until he gets back to where he's 100%.
Sure. And going into this week, what's the key to defending a triple option?
Discipline across all levels, from the D-line to the linebackers to the back end. It's all about discipline. It'll be tested every single snap. And obviously, I think the world of the Air Force Academy and not only what they do for our country, but how they play football. And I mean, they're a disciplined, tough group with intangibles through the roof. And it will be tested every snap. And our guys are excited for the challenge, and we need that challenge, and we're excited for it. But discipline in regards to where my eyes are at, what is my key telling me, and trusting that and not trying to do someone else's job.
How much extra tape are you guys going to use on knees and ankles this week?
No doubt. We'll see, man. I'm with you. I know where you played the cut blocks all week. I'll tell you that, Ron.
For sure. Thanks, man. Good luck.
Appreciate you, brother.
What's up, doing?
What's up, Jay?
One of the biggest moments in that game, I felt like, coming out of halftime, Boise State was able to run the ball effectively, and they possessed the ball for almost half of that third quarter. As a defensive coordinator, how nice was it to maybe just sit back and watch your team kind of control the clock and view Jaron Hall on the sideline versus on the field?
Oh, it was huge. And our offense did a phenomenal job throughout. But I mean, especially opening that third quarter, being able just to grind the clock away, especially against a really good defense. It was just a really good team win, and think the world of BYU and what they do, but it was just really awesome to see them do that. And it was cool to see our guys on the sideline on defense sitting there, like just cheering them on, like, man, keep it going. One first down after another. And to your point, I'm sitting up in the box, cheering them on as well. And I'm the biggest fan of everything going on. So it was just cool to see the team rally around it, because that's what it is. We've talked a lot about the middle eight, where it's really the last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 minutes of the third quarter, and how critical that is in regards to a game, wins and losses, and just being better in those 8 minutes. And we were, and it obviously showed, and hats off to the offense doing a great job in that opening drive. And it really set the tone.
Spencer, when a team goes on the road and knocks off the 10th ranked team in the country, I think there's this perception that your stars shine the brightest in order to score an upset like that. But you've already mentioned it a couple of times, the team aspect of this thing. it was guys like Alex Tubner and Noe Canijo, Jackson Craven's a big fourth down stop at midfield near the end of the first half.
Yep.
How cool is it when everybody kind of gets a chance to feel like they've made an impact?
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge, Jay. And I think it really brings your team even closer together to where it's not just, you don't win that game just because, these one or two guys that are our best players, quote unquote, played well. It's the whole team. It goes from all the way from a kickoff rep to defense, offense, and it's everybody working together and understanding what are we going to do to win this game and not just score a lot of points on offense and hold them to none on defense. And you know what I mean? It's working together. And Coach Avalos has done a good job of just making sure everybody knows what we need to do on either side of the ball to win the game. Because that's at the end of the day what it's all about. And seeing these guys that maybe aren't as well known to the public because of either their playing time or their reps, seeing them show up in a big way and show that they've prepped themselves to be ready for those moments is huge. It's very fulfilling as a coach. And because you see that glimmer in their eyes where they're like, man, I've worked so hard and now I'm starting to reap some of the benefits of that hard work, because I just think that's such a direct correlation to life, where if you work hard at something, you do it consistently over and over, and you don't look for excuses or a way out, things will naturally start to work for you. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but things will start to fall in line. I think our guys are able to see that. And we got a resilient group, and that's probably the biggest thing I'm proud of our guys is wasn't perfect, a lot to clean up, but our guys stay in the fight and they're never out. And that's what I love. They're going to keep swinging to the end.
Last weekend against BYU, Sataki, he was very aggressive going forward on fourth down, almost regardless of field position. What kind of goes through your mind when you see that they're going to go for it? And I mean, it's almost like an instant moment where you got a shot to basically create a turnover. I mean,
yeah,
you guys got the ball in their field twice after they failed to convert on fourth down.
No, 100%. And we see it just like you said, we see it the same as a takeaway, because a fourth down stop, I mean, you're getting the ball back to your offense, and especially in the field positions where they did go for it. And I really believe our guys took it personal. Like, okay, you're going to, and they've done that really throughout the year. He's a pretty, he'll go for it in different situations, but took it personal. Like, okay, it's fourth and 2 on the 45-yard line. You're going to go for it. Well, let's lock in here and make sure that, we need to take care of that. We need to do that for the team. And it's not just about defensively and, we want to do that to win that column, but it's how big will this be if we get the ball back for our offense at midfield? And I believe after that, they went down and scored, and it was just a huge swing, And so it's just the same as a takeaway. Winning those critical downs, those money downs for us is huge. And in a game like that, it's going to come down to how many different possessions you can steal. And our guys being able to do a good job on those fourth downs, winning 2 of 3 was big.
And one more for me. Andy mentioned that your guys up front, they played with their hips more squared to the line of scrimmage. How much do you think your team truly grew in terms of technique, confidence, and showing that they can hang with, what coming in was one of the more physical, successful offensive lines in the country?
Well, they grew a ton, and it's been awesome to see our guys take lumps, and it's not just the D-line, like I said, it's from linebackers to seconds. Everybody's involved with stopping the run, right? Coaches, and seeing them learn, grow, take coaching, be on the practice field all the way from Monday to Friday to learn and grow and see it start to come to fruition. In regards to your point, Jay, you watch them on film and they're running the ball all over everybody. And seeing our guys come out, and like I said, wasn't perfect. There's still some plays that we got a lot to grow in, but I think they're starting to see now that what that hard work can correlate to. And I think it also, the mindset of our team, and especially our defense, where it doesn't matter who's in there. It could be Scott Matlock, could be Jackson Cravens, could be Herbert Gums, could be Ahmed Hassan, could be Alex Tubner. Like we're gonna train our guys the right way. We're gonna play hard. We're gonna play discipline, and that's where success comes from. When you start doing your own thing and guys are playing outside of that, that's where we've had our issues this season. So I think our guys are starting to understand how much that prep and that work really correlates to it on Saturdays. If I'm a starter or I'm not, your number could be called.
Spencer, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Go Bob, Mike, and Will.
Spencer, you've coached against Air Force now 3 or 4 times since you've been here. How much adjustments go on in a game with Air Force? And, I would imagine while your scout team is trying to do the best they can, Air Force is going to run their triple option at a much faster rate than your scout team will. So just talk about the in-game adjustments and how you think a game flows when you're facing Air Force.
Yeah, it is an absolute war from kickoff to the end. And you're excited for that challenge, especially as a defensive coach and a defensive player. You're excited for the challenge because it's an offense that we talk about, practice, analyze throughout the entire year. It's not something that we obviously show up in season and get ready for. It's something we train from the wintertime, the spring, the summer. And so when the week actually gets here, you're really excited for the challenge. And they're the number one rushing attack in the entire country. And our guys know that, and they're excited for that challenge. And you're exactly right. I mean, our scout team's done a really good job. We're going to coach them up to get it as close to the game as we can, Bob, but it's almost impossible to simulate what it looks like on game day because of how the fast physicality with which they play and the discipline with which they play. So, but getting our guys as close as we can to that is going to be huge, and getting them those reps to where they do it over and over in practice. When they get in the game, it might be a little bit faster, but they know where their eyes should be and where that tells them and be able to execute from there. But there's always adjustments against an Air Force team because they do the same. They see what you're in, and it's all about numbers and angles, and kind of playing that game with them throughout is going to be huge. But it's also making sure our guys are confident and having a simple plan that they can execute and go out and use great fundamentals and technique and play hard.
How much does a player who's played against them before, and I'm thinking of guys like Kaniho, Wimpy, Noah, have been in there multiple years against him, versus somebody like Noe Canio, or if Biggers hasn't faced him before, how much of an advantage is it for a player to have faced that before? Oh,
it's huge. I mean, the experience, the game experience in general is huge, regardless what offense you're playing, because it's just the stress, the emotion, the speed, but especially playing a triple option team, the experience of playing it in years prior is monstrous. And getting our guys up to that speed that haven't is also obviously us coaches in the practice reps and in the meetings to get them as close as we can to where that learning curve is shorter than it would be in another situation. So the experience is huge, and the guys that haven't faced Air Force in a game situation, we're going to have to get them up to speed and do it quick. And last one from me. When the first game you coached against Air Force to now, what's maybe the biggest thing that that you didn't know when you faced them the first time? It's a great question. I would say just the speed of the triple option is always, every year you play them, the first couple reps and plays is always, even as a coach, it's just way faster than you even remember. How they're firing off the ball, how quickly they're operating, and how efficiently they're operating. I don't know if that's something that's changed from 4 or 5 years ago to now, but it's always something. Those first couple plays, even for our guys, is those first couple plays are always just way faster than you remember. But then I think you can get in a rhythm with it, and you understand kind of how you're being attacked and can start to adjust and adapt from there. But they do a great job. They have their wrinkles year in and year out, and hats off to their staff, because they're always evolving and finding new ways to attack defenses. And it's going to be a great challenge. Thanks, Spencer. Good luck. Thanks, Bob.
Spencer, Air Force and what they do is already very, very pesky. Now when they throw in Hazik Daniels throwing the football like they did in the second half the other day, one, how much has that changed the dynamic of where you're coming from, and how much have you seen that in other games this season?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because I think, that quarterback does a great job. And when you have a triple option attack that also has a quarterback that can make the throws, it makes it tough. Especially when you're fighting your tail off to stop the run, and then they pull it out and they can launch. It makes it tough. And so but at the end of the day, it always comes down to the discipline with which we play with Mike. If my eyes are on my man and I'm doing what I should, and I'm playing with discipline, then you should be fine. But it's consistently testing that from quarter one to the end of the game. And with a quarterback that can make the throws, and then if they're not there, he can take off and go the distance. It does create some issues for defenses.
That's all I need. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Spence, what did you think of Kayla Biggers' performance Saturday, and what's he give you guys at that cornerback position?
Yeah, Caleb is not only a great young man to be around, a leader, even as a new player to our program. He does a great job leading and making sure that even the younger DBs know what it takes to work, has a great attitude, and seeing him being able to step into that role now and be the guy has been awesome to see, you know, and from the recruiting process to getting him here to seeing him start to play at a high level is just awesome to see his hard work pay off, and we need him, and so glad he's on our team. We need him to keep growing and understanding even more of this defense as he continues to get the experience in our schemes. But he's done a great job, and he's a great kid to be around, and a kid that continues to lead. And I honestly believe his best football is in front of him.
There we go. Sorry about that. A little technology problem. How nice was it to get Herbert back for you guys? And what's he give your defensive line?
Yeah, it was great to get her back. He's a very explosive, strong D tackle. And, you know, he was going to get worked in the rotation last year prior to him tearing his ACL, which he has worked his tail off to recover from. And the trainers have done a great job getting him back, and now we're getting him in shape. And that's why, you know, the experience factor is huge. You know, really, he got, I think, 1 or 2 snaps against BYU last year, and those are the last snaps he got prior to tearing his ACL. And then the next game he's back a full year is against BYU again, to go in there and get those game reps and play hard and not play perfect, but get a lot of experience and be able to pull on those experience going forward is going to be huge, especially for our depth up front where we need it. And it's going to be really excited to see him continue to grow, and Coach Miley's done a great job with him.
Thanks, Spence.
Thanks, Will.
Go John Mallory to finish it up.
Coach, you know, not having your 2 starting corners and to be able to play the way you guys did. I mean, I got to look at Kayla and Jerron Johnson a little bit here and the job they've done. I mean, it was a revolving door of secondary players last week, and you really couldn't know the difference. What is it specifically about those 2 assistant coaches that you have that are doing such a good job with this secondary?
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job. They've done a great job all season, and especially just making sure as they teach, making it clear and concise for the guys so that it could be from the starters to the backups to could be the number 3s. They're learning it and understanding it the same way so that when they get in the game, they can execute and play fast. And it's just been cool to see kind of that next man up mentality, not only with the secondary, but with our entire defense, where we've had some guys be out, we've had some guys get injured, and we just keep it moving, and we're not making excuses, and they know that. And at the end of the day, we know the standards here and how we need to play. When we don't meet them, it's on us, and we need to get it fixed. And it's been cool to see those guys continually walk this path with us, especially in the back end with how many we lost last week. Seeing those guys step up and not miss a beat is huge, and we need to keep them taking steps going forward.
This was the first top 10 victory here that you've personally been involved with, Coach.
Yep.
Do you buy into the season saving stuff, or the one game can change the trajectory of a whole season? They throw out the program changing win. How do you quantify this? Can you guys use this as fuel?
Yeah, I think you definitely can. I know for me, and I shouldn't say for me, for our team, it was just after the loss to Nevada, heartbreaking, still hurts your soul. Being able to go back to not the drawing board, but go back and just focus on and simplifying the things that we need to grow in, getting back to our discipline, how we prep and work from Monday to Friday, and doing all that and seeing it pay off on Saturday, John, was the biggest thing. And if it was the top 10 team in the nation, or if it was an unranked team we played, the end result for us was just let's see if we simplify and work from Monday to Friday all the way to game time, how good can we be? And I think our guys start to see that, they can be pretty good when they really handle their business, when they're disciplined and they prep the right way. We can be pretty good. And what that means, if that means it was a program changing win and all that, I have no idea about that, but I do know it was very, very excited for our players and the hard work they put in to get that win, and even more excited for them to use that as fuel and use that as an understanding of what it takes to win those football games, because it's hard to win. And when you do, remember how you did it so you can keep it going.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, John.
All right, Spencer, appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Have a good day, guys. Appreciate you. See you.
Thanks, Spencer.
Recording stopped.
Hey, Bob, I just sent you an email if you want to hit me back for the Bronco Tuesday stuff. So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Craig.